Is Swiss the worst airline in the world? Well, no. Are they the best in Europe? That's up for debate. Officially known as Swiss International Airlines, the flag carrier of Switzerland calls itself a premium airline that is dedicated to delivering the highest product and service quality. However, as my fellow Stoics will know, premium branding rarely guarantees premium experiences. So let's have a look for ourselves on this 8-hour transatlantic flight to Montreal. We start this journey in Zurich, the main hub of Swiss. Now, Zurich is not the capital, but it is the country's biggest city in population and arguably in self-importance. Switzerland, a country famous for its nice weather, warm people and affordable prices, is my home and therefore also the one of my cute but annoyed little brother, who is joining my wife and me on today's flight over the big pond. Hello. At the airport, we head to the airline's check-in counter and join a queue that seems to include half the country's population. Swiss does offer online check-in, and while it's usually foolproof, I failed miserably the day before our flight. After entering all our details 4 times in a row with absolutely no result, it nearly broke me, so eventually I gave up. The agent at the counter is friendly and overall the check-in process goes smoothly. Unfortunately, Swiss doesn't include checked luggage in its base fare even on long-haul flights, which I find a bit underwhelming, especially considering they're not exactly a low-cost airline. But as a true Swiss, I decided to remain neutral on the topic. With check-in out of the way, it's worth taking a quick look at Swiss itself and its rather curious relationship with this airport. Until May 2025, the airline's headquarters were still based in the city of Basel, even though Swiss hadn't even served Basel Euro Airport in over a decade. But after more than 20 years, they finally relocated to Kloten, the town that hosts Zurich Airport and whose name, for some reason, never fails to amuse my Dutch friends. As a successor of the legendary Swissair, Swiss has always had a deep connection to Zurich Airport. With over 100 destinations across 5 continents, it's the airport's dominant carrier, linking Zurich to the world and helping make it one of Europe's most important aviation hubs. Beyond Zurich, Swiss also operates a second hub in Geneva. There, the focus is mostly regional, with one notable exception of a long-haul route to New York JFK. Other than Zurich and Geneva, Switzerland has some smaller airports, including Basel Euro Airport, St. Gallen, Lugano, Sion, Saint-Médard, and the de facto capital, Bern. None of them, however, are currently served by Swiss due to reasons, I guess. Most flights that leave the Schengen area depart from the E-gates located in a satellite terminal connected by train. Surrounded by huge windows and panoramic views in every direction, it's basically a heaven for socially awkward adults like me who spend their free time staring at planes. If you're also one of those people and happen to hold a priority pass, I recommend heading to the Aspire Lounge.
I feel at home here. I feel at home.
The lounge is located on the top floor and offers an even better view that lets you watch planes undisturbed until some 5-year-old kid comes and asks if you are okay. Eventually you snap back to reality, realizing you're actually here to catch a flight. You might feel a bit guilty when you notice it's been almost 30 minutes since you told your wife and brother you'd just take a quick look and follow them to gate E52. Our flight LX86 to Montreal will be operated by a 16-year-old Airbus A330 named St. Gallen. Despite some chaos at the gate and a fully booked flight, boarding begins on time. That is not something to take for granted, as Swiss recently missed its punctuality target of 70%, mostly due to staff shortages. This summer they even had to cancel flights because they simply did not have enough pilots. But fortunately, none of that applies today. Everything runs smoothly, and as we step on board we are greeted with a smile. As we walk through the business class cabin, I take a moment to enjoy the smell of success. With a price tag of nearly $7,000 one way though, that kind of seat is still a bit out of my range, so the three of us settle into economy.
Damaged or produces heat or smoke. If you should lose your electronic device in
Per ulteriori informazioni la preghiamo di contattare il personale di cabina. Gli ordini impartiti dal personale di bordo ed il regolamento devono essere seguiti sempre.
Despite showing its age, the cabin looks partially refurbished and feels clean, functional, and surprisingly comfortable. Swiss provides other usual economy class amenities, including a pillow, 3 in-flight headphones, and a fluffy, adjustable headrest that feels like luxury. Also, with 79 centimeters or 31 inches of legroom, the space is decent. In the seat in front of us, we get a personal screen for in-flight entertainment, containing a broad variety of content. While the touchscreen is so unresponsive it undoes years of anger management therapy, I later discover that it can also be controlled effortlessly with a remote hidden in the armrest. What I do miss, however, is a proper power outlet. My iPhone, iPad and MacBook all charge via USB-C, so the old USB-A port is basically just decorative. Luckily all my devices are fully charged, so I will be able to get a bit of work done during the flight. But let's see how that goes. We live in the era of the internet, so Swiss equips its A330s with onboard Wi-Fi. There are several packages available and I make the mistake of going for the one called Premium. It promises fast internet for the entire flight and costs 35 Swiss francs or about $39 US. Of course, I don't expect fiber optic speeds while sitting in a metal tube shooting through the skies 30,000 feet above the ground at Mach 0.8. But when even the speed test refuses to load, I start thinking that I should have just bought a couple of beers instead. To my bitter disappointment, instead of beer, we're served crackers and a strange kind of beverage that my body instantly rejects. It's called water, and while it's liquid, it strangely doesn't seem to contain any alcohol whatsoever. Luckily, lunch is being served, which in true Swiss fashion seems to be fresh and healthy. Not that I have to worry about that, because I'm in great shape. Round is also a shape. The meal is delicious, and after inhaling it all, I'd love to have some more. Along with bread, a couscous salad and Swiss cheese, we're served a traditional meal of the Sigma male and Giga Chat community, which is chicken breast, rice and beans. Well, as you can see, here at JohnnyG Reviews & Co, we are desperate to appeal to the Gen Z. So I'm now heading to the Skibidi toilet to take a deuce. No cap, fam. I'm delighted with the clean facilities and feel extra fancy as I use the face spray and lotion provided in the economy class lavatory. Smelling like a unisex herb garden, I return to my seat where I inquire of the flight attendant if the Wi-Fi was supposed to be working. Trying to remain patient, I ask a second and finally a third time when I still haven't heard anything after 2 hours. Eventually she offers me a Swiss voucher worth the value of the sale because the internet is down. I accept the offer, but when she heads for the purser to get the voucher, she comes back empty-handed and lets me know that I'll have to organize it through customer service a few days after the trip. Sure. Now, since I can't get any work done without the internet connection I paid for, I open the Inflight-Entertainment and end up watching a documentary about how to cook cheese. At the same time, I'm eating a cheese quiche along with the ice cream that has just been served. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is my seafood diet. I see food, so I eat food. All in all, I feel comfortable on board, and even if the A330 is among the older aircrafts in the Swiss long-haul fleet, they still look great. The airline even plans to equip them with brand new Census first class cabins by the end of the year, which look amazing, not that I could ever afford it. However, there is one problem. They basically realized that the new first class is way too heavy and could throw the aircraft off balance. So instead of making the cabin lighter, Swiss decided to install lead weights with a total mass of 1.5 tons as counterweights in the rear of the A330. Of course, this leads to significantly higher fuel consumption, which makes it a bit hard to take them seriously when they tell passengers to pack light for the sake of the environment. But I guess that explains why I'm not allowed to bring a suitcase. In the end, they know what they're doing, I guess. And I'm also very excited for the brand new A350s coming soon. When it comes to this flight, obviously there were a few hiccups. For example, the online check-in didn't work, the Wi-Fi issue wasn't handled well, and also they're definitely not the cheapest option out there. And of course, like everyone, I wish the old Swissair was still around, and I'm annoyed that they sold Swiss to Lufthansa. But despite all that, Swiss is still a solid airline in my eyes. Their onboard product is nice, and in my experience the crew is always friendly and professional. There's also quite a strong attention to detail and quality going on, even in economy class. Whether it's the small snacks, the chocolate before landing, the paper-wrapped headphones, the flight attendant guy joking around, or the extra amenities in the bathroom, it's often the little gestures that make a flight memorable, and Swiss really gets that. The same goes for the general condition of their hard product. The fact that they also invest in the comfort and safety of their older aircraft demonstrates that Swiss values quality over show, even if that means adding 1.5 tons of extra weight. A fellow flight reviewer once said that Swiss feels generic and soulless, and that they should add some cuckoo clocks. And here I have to disagree, because honestly that's exactly what I and many other people living in Switzerland like about Swiss Airlines. Because our national carrier doesn't need gold or bling bling or cuckoo clocks, in the end it's convincing with quality and functionality, even if that means embracing minimalism. Another well-known Swiss transport company is SBB. If you're curious, check out my ride on the so-called Narco-Train from Amsterdam to Zurich here. Thank you so much for watching, and see you soon.